This is the Fairline Targa 45 GT, and it shares a lot of its design with the Targa 45 Open that was launched in 2018. If you want to watch my review of that boat, then click on the banner at the top of the video on the link below. Now back to this boat. It comes with two IPS engine options, either IPS 600, which is twin 440 horsepower diesels, or IPS 650 with twin 480 horsepower. With those larger diesels, the starting price is £700,000 including VAT, but this boat, which is destined for Canada with a heavy spec on it, including a hydraulic bathing platform, air conditioning and a Seakeeper 3 gyroscopic stabiliser, is £870,000 including VAT. Now before we have a look on board, let's find out what it's like to drive. It's a really pleasant boat to be at the helm of, the Targa 45 GT, both because it's very nice to drive and also the environment is lovely as well. You know, it's a GT, it's for cruising long distances in comfort. The steering is nice and light and there's a decent amount of agility, but really it's about setting a straight course, sitting back in these super comfortable seats and this nice commanding view you have here at the helm, and enjoying the ride. This boat's got the larger of the two engine options, IPS 650, which is 480 horsepower per side for a top speed of 32 knots. Comfortable cruising speed in the region of 25 knots for a range of just over 200 miles. But there's plenty of space within that cruising range. You could cruise at 22 or 28 and the boat is going to feel very comfortable. And it's been choppy here in Ipswich today and the hull has dealt with it really well. Okay, it doesn't slice through it like a knife, but it feels solid. There's no creaking, there's no crashing, there's no slamming. It really feels of a piece. When it comes to the driving environment, it's really impressive. It's the simple things like how nice this steering wheel is to hold. It's trimmed in lovely leather, it's the right gauge, it's the right size, it's adjustable as well. The throttles are very close to it. This seat, though it doesn't bolster, it does slide so you can get as close to the helm as you want. And because it slides back, taller skippers, even though there isn't a bolster, will be able to stand and look over the windscreen with the roof back. We've got the roof closed today because it's a bit of spray flying around, but because you've got glass inset into it, there's still plenty of natural light in here. You don't feel cooped up. You have a single piece windscreen, you've got nice thin mullions either side, so the all-round view is really very good. One nice addition is the drop-down footrest that comes down from this panel here, spans the width of both seats. When you're seated, it means that you have somewhere to rest your feet so they're not dangling, but it also gives you a bit of extra height, so if you want to stand with your head poking through the sunroof, gives you a bit more elevation to do that. Fairline has always done its helm designs really well, and this one is no different. It's a nice mix of style and practicality. I like the fact that you have these silver highlights. You've got your screen right behind the wheel, so it's really easy to see when you're sat back in your chair, but you also have analog dials at the top of the dash for quick glances at the revs, and it's always nice to see that you've got a rudder indicator here. Even on an IPS boat, it's still nice to know in which direction the pods are facing. Now there's a big blank space here. This boat's going to Canada, presumably to a lake, so they don't feel the need to have an MFD fitted here, but of course there's plenty of space there to fit a chart plotter if you want one. You've also got your smaller screens dotted either side, and then just a simple row of black buttons, rocker switches along the top of the dash, so you can quickly get to those functions that you use on a regular basis. And one thing I will say is, even with the doors open, we've got them open at the moment, the back doors, for a bit of ventilation, it's still quiet enough in here. Sound levels are really measured, really well contained. It means you don't have to raise your voice, especially with the doors closed, but it's nice to know that even with the doors of the roof open, it's still going to be quiet enough in here that you don't have to raise your voice when you're at cruising speed. Now the design back here is very familiar to the Targa 45 Open. So you have this large raised sun pad underneath which there is a tender garage big enough to swallow a Williams mini-jet tender. This is also where you find engine access. So there's a quick inspection hatch to port here. It's quite tight when you get down there. It really is just for sticking your head down there to ensure everything's okay. If you want proper access, then the bottom of the tender garage lifts up on a hydraulic ram and you have fantastic access to both the engines and the pod drives. Plenty of natural light as well, and easy enough to get the engines out if you need really major servicing work. But the major difference between this boat and the Open version is up on the main deck. Now up here on the Open, you just have a big exposed cockpit. There are no doors and there's a big canvas roof. Obviously on this version, you have this partition here. So you split the main deck between the outdoor cockpit and a really comfortable, welcoming, luxurious upper saloon. And to try and blend those two spaces together, Fairline has used this mechanism here. This door pops up on a powered ram So you get much more flow between these two areas. And although you have almost half your outdoor living space, it's still a really good space here. It's sociable, it's comfortable. The backrest flips back this way so you can extend the size of the sun pad. Of course, you've got this nice teak table here which extends out so that more people can sit and dine. And though you haven't got the full outdoor wet bar like you have on the open, you've still got enough to cook and entertain. You've got a grill here, a sink. Underneath is actually a rubbish bin because your fridge is inside the saloon proper, but it's only just inside the door here. You have an isotherm fridge, have a little bit more storage behind these cupboards as well, and actually it's behind this unit where the television stows, so that will pop up from there, perfectly positioned to face this really comfortable dinette. Lots of different choices in terms of colours and materials in here. This has obviously got the high gloss walnut, looks really smart. White leather looks great, might not age that well and it's a bit slippery, but it's certainly very comfortable. And this is really cosy, but it's also bright. A lot of glass in here. You have a sunroof, but again, it's got glass inside it, so even when it's closed, natural light can pour down into this area. So you really do get the best of both worlds, and that is the idea behind this boat. It's why it's proved so popular for Fairline already, because you can use it pretty much anywhere. Twin Helm seats here, so you can have a navigator sitting inside you. That does mean the skipper has to get out of the way every time the navigator wants to leave, which is a bit of a pain, but it's a nice setup, and it's nice that someone can sit alongside the skipper like this. This area, very comfortable on a nice, calm, sunny day when the boat's moving along slowly. Obviously, it's underneath the sunroof. Wouldn't be quite so comfortable if you're travelling along in a rough sea, you're facing the wrong way and you're sort of lying backwards, but lie down there and read the paper over a weekend would be very nice in the right conditions. Of course, that means downstairs you have the boat's accommodation. Now, another key difference between the GT and the Open is the options of layouts down here, because you can only have 2 cabins on the Open version, but because you've got a dinette up there, Fairline will allow you to sacrifice this one to put a bulkhead along here and put some bunks in this area, so you can have 3 cabins aboard this boat. This is still a popular option though, I think, because it makes this area feel so open, because it's open to the windscreen as well. It's not too dark and dingy down here, and it's cosy. It's opposite the galley. It's a nice place to come and have breakfast, especially. The galley itself isn't enormous, but it's pretty well equipped. You've got an under-counter fridge, you've got a microwave, twin burner hob, sink and some decent storage, but it's not enormous. Perfect for cooking up a simple breakfast or lunch, however. In 2 cabin guys, the space is great aboard the 45 GT. This is a really lovely guest cabin. Fantastic storage, twin cupboard here, full length hanging wardrobe, nice and wide. It's also lit. Always good to see in a guest cabin. You've got plenty of clothes storage. And then you move inside proper, you find a nice big bed here. It's easy to get up around the sides. You've got steps to help you into bed. The edges around the side are all fiddled, so you can leave phones, jewellery down the side. You know they're not going to fall off when the boat is out at sea. Skylight as well, so you get natural light coming through, as well as these elongated windows with opening ports set inside them. You can have this as a scissor action split berth. Just makes it a bit more versatile. If you've got 2 people sleeping in here who aren't a couple, it means they don't have to share a bed, but this is a really decent sized berth for a boat this size. And you notice that you've got reading lights, you've got repeater light switches as well, so you don't have to climb out of bed to turn on the lights, and you also have climate control in here as well. Another key thing is this is ensuite to its own bathroom. Yes, it's the day head, so it's going to be shared with other guests in the day, but it's nice to have that private access from inside this cabin. If we head amidships, then we find the master cabin in this boat, and we can take a moment to look at the wonderful craftsmanship from these components here. These magnetised door handles are absolutely lovely, and the lacquering and the woodwork, it's glorious. And it just gets better as you move into this cabin, where you find a surprising amount of headroom. It doesn't look like a tall boat from the outside. It's a clever trick by the designer Alberto Mancini that it still looks really sleek, but I've got well over 6 foot headroom down here in the bows of the boat. You can move around both sides of the bed, and again, storage is absolutely brilliant. This whole side of the cabin is all wardrobe storage, and again, the detailing, I like the fact they haven't just left this as a sort of plain wooden bulkhead. They've put a bit of detail on there to make it more interesting. You can have this as a sofa if you prefer. This is a dresser with, again, more storage in it, and you really pick out the quality. Again, I love the backlighting here, really subtle, just adds to the feeling of luxury on board. And I like the fact that they've got the TV up here. That's in a good position, in a good place opposite the bed. And this cabin is en suite. It has a private bathroom which can't be accessed by guests in the day. There's access onto the side decks from both sides of the cockpit, though it's probably easy to come up here on the starboard side. It's nice how far back this railing comes, so you've immediately got something to grab here, and they've matched it with a railing up here too, so it's really easy, even when the boat's out at sea and it's rolling around, to steady yourself on the side deck. You've also got nice high tow rails as well, and they run all the way forward, and you can just start picking out these blue lights on the long side deck as well, which look really smart at night. It's an easy boat to move down here, and again, the rail comes nice and high, easy to grab, and you only just sort of lose this railing here, but then when you're onto the foredeck, you have the guardrail to grab onto as well. The foredeck layout is quite simple. You would have cushions here, but they're a bit more Ibiza than Ipswich, but they would slot in there, and nice comfortable place to come and catch the sun when it's out. Good to see that you've got some cup holders here just to hold drinks steady when you're up on the foredeck. And what you can really take in here is the size of this one-piece windscreen, and then the size of that sunroof, and the size of the glass panels that they've managed to get into the top of it. Really is what makes this boat such an enjoyable boat to be on board when you're up on the main deck. Thank you very much for watching our review of the Fairline Targa 45 GT. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so that you get a notification every time we upload a new video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.